Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom. We are live on YouTube for the Championship Preview show. Make yourself known if you're in the live stream. Please get involved in the chat, get your predictions in as we go through each and every game, this game week number 6 of the Championship. Coming up, if you're watching after the fact, you can get involved down in the comments. Back a bit out of routine after a holiday, but normally we should be here every Thursday and every Monday for a live stream preview and a live stream review of all of the Championship games. So we're going to go top to bottom. We'll do questions at the end. We'll go through every single game. There has been some Carabao Cup action in the midweek. A few teams had already got themselves kind of tactically knocked out in the first rounds. 7 teams still in there after wins this midweek. Swansea, Wednesday, Luton, Forest, Stoke, Reading, Preston going to have a bit of the old fixture congestion. I think it was last week of September those games are going to go in. So just to get our heads around where we are, game week 6 coming up, international break after this. So certain managers are going to be praying for a win because they don't want to go into international break in a bad way. And then we're back right into it from September the 14th. So game number 1 this weekend. I said how fortuitous last week that we got top against bottom. Amazingly, only 6 weeks into the season, we've got a first against second already, which we're all licking our lips over as Championship fans. Leeds United in first versus Swansea in second. Both sides probably looking at this thinking, if you're Leeds, can you knock Swansea over convincingly, make a big statement and say, you know, we're the best team here? If you're Swansea, can you go to Leeds and win and say, look, they're not going to have it all their way? Both teams have made brilliant starts to the league, frankly. Identical form, win-draw, and then both of these sides with a perfect 3-game week, 9-pointers for both Leeds and Swansea in the 3-game week. Leeds, like I say, they've had an absolutely brilliant start. White has slipped into that back 4 in place of Pontus Jansson, absolutely perfectly, just like he was always there. Alioski has been used in the last 2 games. Douglas started the season. If you remember last season, Alioski actually ended up playing most of the season at left back. Probably want to be a bit further up, but needs must, and now Bielsa trusts him in that position. Midfield and wide guys all solid. Bamford, decent goal return. I know some people still say to me, big game, tight game, can Bamford do it? Well, we'll find out this season. I still contend that all you have to do when you play up front for Leeds is take those big high percentage chances, and you should be absolutely fine for 20 goals at least in a season. And Keita is often running on the bench. Clark, Costa, all raring to go. It all looks good for Leeds, but I keep saying small, tight squad, isn't it? Excuse me. And key injuries last year did for them. Injuries to Hernandez and Roof and Cooper and most of the team at some point during the season. Swansea, equally solid. All of the back 4 and the double pivot have all played all of the games. So we know what the kind of back 6 is going to be for Swansea without even checking the teams as they come out at 2 on Saturday. Where I'm interested now is Swansea, where they need to start to tick, and if they're going to have a really good season, the 3 off the front. Selina's starting to look good. Selina's been around a while. My team, Ipswich, had him on loan for a season. There's a player in there. Maybe he comes good this season. We will see. Ayew can be brilliant. Kalulu has come in there. Dyer's been around forever. So between those 4 players and Baston up front, who's the top scorer in the entire division, it should work quite well up front. This is one of those ones where in the Championship, without too much context, you can still say anything could happen. There's a school of thought that Leeds are going to fly off into the distance and be 7 or 8 points clear by autumn, in which case they win this game. There's also a school of thought that Leeds never do anything the easy way. Swansea could be the ones who are going to have the great season, and they go there and win. I remember showing up to Elland Road in February of this year, sure that Leeds were going to beat Norwich and go on and get promoted, and Norwich took them to the cleaners. So who the hell knows? I've been fairly consistently backing Leeds this season. I've only seen them once, and they completely dismantled Bristol City, pretty effortlessly destroyed them, in fact. So on that basis, having not yet seen Swansea, but very impressed with Swansea and Steve Cooper, certainly building on the great work by Graham Potter last season, I'm going to go for another Leeds victory, getting predictable with my predictions there. Game number 2, we've dealt with first and second, so we go to third place. Charlton, get your predictions in down the side if you're in the feed. Reading 11th versus Charlton in 3rd. Charlton undefeated first 5, superb start by the Addicts. Reading have transformed hugely since that transfer deadline day. I was a bit worried about them, lost the first 2, didn't they? And then brilliant 3-game week by Reading. Beat Cardiff, drew at West Brom, beat Huddersfield, 7 points off 3 parachute teams. Interesting. Charlton, solid backline, very much like Swansea we spoke about, and Leeds really. Good output from midfield. You've got Pratley, the old head, but the young guys, Cullen and Gallagher, flanking him, and Gallagher's got 3 goals. Williams, fingers crossed, if he stays fit, which he never ever could when he was on loan at my team, Ipswich, has already got 4 assists, so he's firing really well in the 10 position. Taylor up front scoring. They're creating chances, they're taking chances, they're outperforming their XG. So maybe some drop off ahead, but hey, don't knock it. Charlton loving it at the moment. Reading, I quite enjoyed Reading's last week. Huge turnaround by them after losing the first 2. New keeper, Rafaelin, gone to 3 at the back. Morrison looks a steady and influence in the back 3 there. Swift, Pele, Ejaria look very nicely balanced. Great output from Swift creatively, and Ejaria getting forward into the box, kind of number 8 type midfielder. Looks great. Big options up front, Puskas, Yao, Boye, Maite. I think both teams are going to score in this one, and I think I might back against Charlton here. I think Charlton's XG is going to catch up with them in this one. I think they're going to score, but I think Reading might win again and keep this run and this transformation going. So let's go for a home, and we'll go against the favourites in this one. Moving on, game number 3. Get your predictions in down the side for Bristol City versus Borough. A few predictions there for Reading in the chat, agreeing with me, although Charlton have just proved us wrong every step of the way, so they'll probably be happy that everyone's predicting them to not get that one done. Bristol City at home to Borough. Bristol City 4th, Borough 17th. Bristol City, like Reading, big turnaround since deadline day. Perfect 3-game week though. Take on Borough, who got their first win. Most people back in Bristol City in the chat there under Woodgate in midweek of last week. City's new look team minus Webster, Pack and Kelly. Like I say, perfect 9-point week last week. Keeper, back 3, wing backs all look settled. I reckon you'll see the Hungarian Nagy come in for Masengo, who is going to need to be protected. He's only 18, isn't he, and worth a lot of money. The new sign-in hand, no, Masengo. Don't want to overuse him. Palmer off, Aphobia and Vyman probably, with Jeju in the background is a good combination. Those 3. On paper, looks a decent Bristol City side all season. Jeffrey says Callis out for 6 weeks. That is not good news if you're a Bristol City fan. That might change my prediction. Jeffrey, who goes in instead of Callis at centre-back? Let me know. Borough sticking patiently to Jonathan Woodgate's 4-3-3. They got the first win at home to Wigan, drew against Millwall, so 4 points in the last 2 is good. Although you can see where Borough's expectations might be changing now slightly. 2 home games against 2 teams that were down the bottom last season. how are they going to do against the better sides? And at the moment, Bristol City are one of those. Maybe Dyke Steele starts a right back to get Howson into midfield. I don't know whether Woodgate just wants to keep his experienced players on the pitch, in which case he'll keep Williams in at centre back for Bristol City. Keep McNair, Clayton and Wing, solid midfield three. If this team's going to thrive, they're going to need a lot of output from Fletcher, Johnson wide and Assombalonga up top. I don't see Borough being able to cope 90 minutes at Bristol City, who will attack as a team there. I think Bristol City are going to win their fourth game on the trot. I can't call him Streaky Lee until he loses 4 on the trot after this. So I think Bristol City may well even end the day. They could end the day in the top 2, could they? One of Leeds and Swansea is losing, and I think Charlton might be dropping points at Reading. So it could be a good weekend for Bristol City going into the international break. Gary has asked me just quickly, and it's Tyrone Mings, so I'm going to answer it. What do I think about Tyrone's England call? I think it's great. Really good lad, Tyrone. Contrary to what some people think, because of a couple of fortuitous stamps that have been maybe blown out of proportion. England need left-footed defenders, and I think it's great for Tyrone. He probably won't get minutes, but great to see him in there. Let's move on. Game number 4. Cardiff 14th versus Fulham in 5th. I will be at this game tomorrow, so check out my review. Really looking forward to it. Very, very curious to see what I'm going to get. Fulham looked quite confused against Blackburn and didn't really have the sense of Parker's play. Then they looked frankly unstoppable against Millwall, and then obviously they lost at home to Forest. A couple of draws. Box says Mings is the new Stephen Colker. Don't know about that, but funny comment nonetheless. So yeah, we'll see what Fulham do in terms of their consistency. Cardiff, maximum points at home due to a couple of late goals, only 1 point away. Warnock shutting up shop whilst Mowbray was doing the same thing. So that had 0-0 written all over it. We kind of know exactly what Fulham are going to do. They're going to play 4-3-3. Only really Sessegnon coming in for Adoy, the only change. Devilish front three though. Mitrovic, Cavaliero, Knockout. Already 8 goals between those 3. They stay fit all season. They are going to get a lot. Derek says Fulham will have the cutting edge. Cardiff haven't found their way yet, have they? I know there's some injuries there. Pat came straight in and got injured. Bamba's not around. And some people still questioning the loan of Reed out to Fulham. Morrison and Flint, new partnership there. Glatzel needs to get off and scoring now, doesn't he? GDP says he's seen me at some Ipswich games with my book. Say hello next time you see me. Look at these options though for Cardiff off the front and up front. Mendes, Lane, Tomlin, Patterson, White, Murphy, Bogle, Medine, Vassell. Warnock should be able to, if anyone can, blooming Warnock can, find 4 out of those to do his 4-2-3-1. I really don't know how this is going to go. If Fulham win, it will be because they keep loads of possession and dominate Cardiff, in which case they'll probably win by 2 goals. If Cardiff win, they'll get amongst the Fulham guys playing out from the back. They'll kick hell out of Harry Arter and stop the ball going through him and probably score a couple of set plays. I can see it going either way. On the basis Cardiff have won both of their home games so far, don't think Cardiff are going to lose. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. And I think both things will happen. I think Fulham will have the possession, but Cardiff will score from set plays, and it will be a 1-1 or a 2-2 or something like that. Let's move on to game number 5. Get your predictions in down the side. Help me out with this. Forest versus Preston. Get your predictions in. Forest in 9th versus Preston in 6th. I think this should be a good game, actually. Forest improving, likely very confident after going to Fulham and winning, and then really handily beating Derby. They've got a bit of a hex over Derby at the moment, haven't they? Forest. Matty says 3-2 Forest. Hip to Game says Preston will win. George says 2-0 Forest. So look, this one's mixed, isn't it? So Preston starting really where they ended up last season. Preston would have been top 8, wouldn't they, if they hadn't played so terribly for the first 10, 12 games or so. Rafferty and Bauer have come into the back 4. That's working out all right. Johnson's the one with the big output for Preston when it was Brown last season. He's already got 4 goals and a couple of assists from the number 10th position. They need to add away points. So kind of go to Forest and get something. I think we've got a couple of Forest in the chat. I believe Preston won there last season, didn't they? Forest, after losing to West Brom, they've come good, haven't they? 4 wins and 2 draws in all comps in the last 6. So really good run for Lamouchi in those games. He's kept it fairly tight. Jenkinson looks like he's snuck in at right back. Derek says a draw in this one. The proven guys, though, Graben's playing well, Lolly's playing well. And I suppose if you're Forest, Adoma is a proven guy, isn't he? He's been up the top of the league for Villa the last couple of seasons. He knows the league as well. Minutes for Mir, Bostock, Carvalho, got a goal, Chema, all in the Carabao. So they're all waiting in the background. I think Forest are going to win this one. I'm quite enjoying the way Lamouchi's doing this. He's not being pushed around. Some managers get swallowed by Forest, don't they? Big club, big expectation, slightly erratic ownership, let's just say. And he seems to be taking this in his stride, Lamouchi. I like the cut of his jib. So I'm going to go for a home win. I'm going to go against the favourites and the higher position team again. There, we'll say Forest are going to win that one, keep their good run going, and Preston will keep winning at home and losing away, maybe. Game number 6, Sheffield Wednesday versus QPR. Get your predictions in down the side. Sheffield Wednesday in 7th spot, QPR in 12th spot. Hip to Game says Forest will finish 6th. Interesting, going for them for the top 6 above some of the parachute teams there. Wednesday's 3 wins so far keeps them on the edge of the playoffs. This is what Warnock and McCarthy and Bruce and the likes of those always figured out about that division, is you can lose games. You just got to keep those wins coming, and it doesn't matter if you lose them, because the 3 pointers are worth absolutely everything over a 46-game season. You can lose 15, 17, 18 games and still be way up there if you have a good win ratio. So Wednesday won at Reading, at home to promoted Barnsley and Luton. So some people would say, who have they beaten yet? So Bannon's working in central midfield. Murphy and Harris speed around the Warhorse. Fletcher down the middle. Not necessarily the squad strength of some of the others, with Chansiri, cutting his cloth accordingly for the FFP coming up, selling his stadium to himself. Decent first 11 though, I think, for Wednesday, although they could have done with Hector coming, couldn't they? But that's the difference now with them and the parachute teams. Rangers gone off the boil a bit after the opening day win at Stoke. 1 point in the next 3. Caught up with a win last game over Wigan, and I think Warburton matched up in the second half and took them on with 3 at the back. I like the mix of youngsters with Eze, Samuel, Chair, and the lone goal scorers, Hugel and Wells, both in on loan. I think Wednesday are going to win this one. I think QPR are going to be, I don't want to say a soft touch, but I think you're going to be able to get at QPR away from home. I think teams like Wednesday, when there's people like, I don't know, Lees and Reach and Fletcher, those experienced guys in that team, I think are going to be able to get at the kind of younger and loaned QPR players. So I'm going to go for a home win for Wednesday. So it should probably lead them in the top 6, shouldn't they? Game number 7, West Brom. I didn't miss one out, did I? No. West Brom versus Blackburn. Get your predictions in down the side. West Brom in 8th versus Blackburn in 13th. I got my first look at West Brom last week. I was at Derby versus West Brom. You can check my review of that. Look in my feed, it's probably a few videos back now. Organised, good in possession, didn't quite have the speedy passing that you saw Sheffield United, Norwich, Leeds, Villa get promoted with last season, where you have to switch it up a gear. Squad-wise, they look strong though. Number of options up front. Zahor, Austin can both play the one up top, and then Gravinovic, Diangana, Phillips, he's always been good in this year, Edwards. I think Pereira looks like he's going to be a good player, but not quite clicked yet, West Brom under Bilic. Although I like what Bilic has done in terms of, he's bought himself match winners, hasn't he? Lots of little dribbly players. When I say that, Edwards, Diangana, Pereira, particularly in a tight game, they can turn it for you as well. Rovers had that bad start, and then obviously Mowbray went back to basics because they then didn't concede a goal for the next 3 games. Kept it nice and tight, didn't he, Mogger? And then 7 points over Borough, Hull and Cardiff. No goals conceded, back to basics, but it worked, didn't he? Money spent on Gallagher, and he did get his first goal now in the Carabao at Sheffield United. So I know he just dropped Gallagher back into the three off the front and put Graham, but I think ultimately he wants Gallagher to lead the line there, but he needs goals out of him and he needs to hold the ball. And it's just been a case of, stick down in and Graham back in and go for the experienced guy. Blackburn will be tight in this one. West Brom found it hard to play through a tight derby. I think Blackburn might be able to get a draw out of this, being as West Brom haven't clicked yet. I think it'll be tight, and it depends on substitutions. If West Brom's subs can overrule, you can imagine Austin coming on scoring the winner or something. So look, I'm going to go for a draw, but the caveat to that is a West Brom sub might win it for them, or something of that nature. Game number 8. Let me know what you think in the comments. Down the side, Millwall at home to Hull City. And Millwall, look, I know analysis doesn't work like this, but if you take out that Fulham game, Millwall have had a really, really good start. That's a bit of an outlier. 2 wins, 2 draws. They've won their home games, drawn at West Brom and Borough, who were both top 8 there. Obviously, they did get a bit of a pasting too deep in the defence against Fulham. Interestingly, I said about Harris's options widen up front now. Bodvarsson got a game against Oxford in the Carabao and scored twice. So you've now got Smith, who looks like he's settled in beautifully, and looks like him and Cooper are a horrible threat from the set plays now. But Bodvarsson's given Harris something to think about, particularly in terms of substitutions there. I think still Smith and Bradshaw are ahead of him. Hull draw and 3 defeats in the last 4. They went out to penalties against Preston. Bowen scores again and McGuinness got his first. I know I sound boring when I'm doing Hull, but it really is how it is, where if Millwall push too far forward down the sides and Bowen and Grzycki turn up and you give them space, they'll just frankly urinate all over anybody. So Millwall might go deep down the sides, and we'll see who they play out wide, especially with someone like Mahoney. Will he actually chase back with Grzycki or Bowen? You'd think Millwall at home should have enough. You'd say Millwall are a better fully formed team, whereas Hull certainly just have those sort of couple of 3 brilliant individuals. Bowen will likely score. Millwall will likely score a set play as well. I would think Millwall will probably. John says Mahoney chase back, and I love that. That was my point, John. If he gets caught with one of those guys, then he's going to expose the fullback, isn't he? I think Millwall will probably win this one by 1 goal, and Bowen will still score because he's just going to score in every game until Spurs inevitably sign him in January. Let's go for a Millwall home win. Game number 9, Birmingham versus Stoke, bottom of the league. Stoke. Get your predictions in down the side for this one. Blues inconsistent. 3-0 defeat, 2-0 win, 3-0 defeat, and it's worrying at any times to lose 3-0, but to do it twice and have a win in the middle is a little bit confusing. Matty says 3-0 Stoke, and he's a Birmingham fan. He's not full of confidence with Pep Clotet there. So he's gone 3 at the back, Clotet, so presumably he's trying to get 2 up front because Jutkovic dovetails well with another striker. So Jutkovic and Jimenez up front. And it looks like, let me know in the chat, Blues fans, if we've got this right. He's trying to get his wing-backs to support these clever midfielders, Sunic and Villabla and Crowley, so they don't get overrun there. So figuring out the system. Stoke, well, they've got to win at Leeds in the Carabao. Jack Butland, I think if Jack Butland literally walked into a soft play area or something, he'd still hurt himself. John says they won't play the wing backs at home, may go back to a back 4. So I think Butland's going to be out again. Jones said something about him being injured, so he's probably just getting him out of line of fire there. It's an interesting one for Nathan Jones though, because my team Ipswich had this last season where Paul Hurst, they're going to fire him, and then he won the last game before an international break. And it was actually the worst thing that could happen, because then they had the week off and then they lost the next 3 games. You've wasted loads and loads more time. John says Jeff Montero might come in for this one. I think Stoke might go tight again. They played 3 at the back last time. I think Championship teams have gone to 3 at the back now, haven't they? Nathan Jones is trying everything. Stoke have got no confidence, weren't they? So if I'm Blues and I'm playing at home to Stoke and I've got Lukas Jutkovic playing for me, I'm going to spend the first 10 minutes just bombarding because you're likely to. I think Preston did that to Stoke a couple of weeks ago. Let's go for a low-scoring draw. I think this might be a bit cagey. I don't see Stoke winning, but the thing with Stoke is they should have enough quality to do far better than they're doing in this league. So let's bail it and go for a draw in this one. Right, game number 10, Brentford versus Derby. Get your predictions in down the side for this one. Whoever loses this one, it's going to be a really underwhelming start, isn't it? Because like Brentford are 19th, Derby is 16th. Both expect to be, well, challenging playoffs, I think. It's interesting for both. Derby I've seen twice now. I saw them beat Huddersfield. They scored a couple early and then sat back. Could have really beaten West Brom. Waghorn missed a penalty and then Marriott and Knight could also have both scored in that one. They're quite pragmatic, Derby. They're a bit less fluid than they were under Lampard, a bit more team shapey and tight, let's just say. Brentford, no wins in 4. They're having one of these let's look really good in every department but not win runs, which they do. And the XG says they should be 10 places higher up. This has been a consistent pattern for Brentford over probably even 3 or 4 seasons now. 2 goals in 5 games for Brentford. So I think the best they can do at the moment is Mbeumo, Benrahma and Watkins. But as lots of people are pointing out in the thread, there's no number 9 in that. And they might really regret not having a number 9 and letting Mopai go. Unless Watkins can really retool and retrain and make himself into a number 9. Let's say this one will be a scoring draw. I think Derby will go there and be quite tight. It'll be possession high, chances low, I would imagine. So I'll sit on the fence then go for a draw. Game number 11, Luton versus Huddersfield. Luton 18th, Huddersfield 23rd. Luton off the mark. A few close run games where they were ahead and didn't win or lost in injury time or something. Scoring goals, Luton. First half against Barnsley will really, really help their confidence. And I always think when you get promoted teams play early in the season and they've been battling all last season and one goes to the other and wins, you think that bodes well for the one that wins. Happens quite a lot. Normally the other way round though, where second place beats first place, whereas Luton were obviously first and Barnsley second. They've worked into new players. Butterfield was at the base of the diamond last time. Bree and Bolton both started at full-backs. Sluga's in goal now after his aberration in the first game, starting to settle down, isn't he? I can still see, I just think Izzy Brown's too quality not to work his way into that team, probably before November, I would say. I just think he's too good not to in the number 10 spot. Huddersfield, they really, really need a new manager. I don't know whether this is just a market move and someone in Abu Dhabi's put a load of money on it or something, but Lee Bowyer's gone in really short as Huddersfield manager now, but I can't really see that happening. Huddersfield in absolutely atrocious form, 0 points from the 3-game week. There's some good players there. The front three's good out wide and Grant can score goals. They need some help. Chalobah, one of my favourites from on loan at Ipswich last season, has gone in there. God, I feel sorry for Chalobah. I thought he would have thought he was going to a team that actually wins some games this season, and they're not. I just can't see Huddersfield going to Little Kenilworth Road with this well-drilled team that have kind of played well in a lot of their games and not got anything, and getting anything. I think Luton are going to win this one. I think Huddersfield are going to lose again. Good call from John in the chat there. Make a lot of sense for Huddersfield to get Monk. I agree with that. He'd sort that out, knows this division inside out. Yeah, Brian says Leeds were first. Always go in order, top to bottom. I think you can wind back while the live stream's going on if you want to do that. Last one, Wigan. So I'm going for a Luton home win against Huddersfield. Wigan versus Barnsley is our last one. Wigan 22nd versus Barnsley in 21st. Both teams really need a win. Barnsley got me all excited on the first day when they beat Fulham. Slim pickings since then. 1 point in those games. They've played their 2 promoted rivals. Drawing in the last minute. Charlton pegged them back, didn't they? And then hammered a bit in the first half by Luton. Wilkes is off the mark. Is it a case that they haven't gelled yet, or is it a case that 12 signings was too many, or are these guys good enough? Let's see over the course of the season how Barnsley work it out. Wigan, the cliches say good at home, rubbish away. They're not disproving me yet. 4 straight defeats though for Wigan. Worst form in the league. 3 at the back as well. So many teams 3 at the back. You get these big cycles now, especially teams when they're thinking they're underdogs and they just want to match up. They go with the team. If you take someone like Bristol City who are doing it up the top of the table, and then teams will start to match up and stick with it if they get anything good. So maybe we'll see a trend over the winter of 3 at the back, going away from the 4-2-3-1s that most of the teams have been playing. You look at it though and you say, as much as I love Joe Garner up front with Massey and Jacobs, they need to get really close. Amigos has just asked about the Leeds documentaries. Yeah, I will do something. I've done notes on the first 3. I'll take a look at that. I think Wigan are going to beat Barnsley. I really do. I think Wigan's home record will take them over on that. Right, I'll do the questions from the shout out on YouTube first, and then we'll take questions in the feed just for the remainder of this live stream. Always put a post out, so if you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, you'll always see the post during the day and get your questions in then. Guaranteed to get them asked. Animation says, what is Ashton Gate like as a stadium? I'm a Championship fan going to my first live Championship game on Saturday for Bristol City versus Borough. Ashton Gate's improved loads and loads. One huge, lovely stand now, and they've done the back of the other ones. The away stands leaves a bit to be desired, and it's still a fair bit built up, but certainly gearing up for playing at a high level there, Bristol City. You know me, I like to sit on halfway in the top tier, so I like that huge Lansdowne stand or whatever it is. So let me know how you go. Animation Station should have a fun day for that one. Should be a good game as well, Borough and visiting Ashton Gate. Derek asked, where do I think Reading will come in the table? I did predict 17th, but that was before the new players came in. John says, quality grass seed used at Ashton Gate. Really? Where do I think Reading will come in the table? I think they're going to finish in the top half now. I had them pegged for relegation or definitely bottom 6. So, yeah, I agree with he. They can't continually sign players for 7 million, so they're probably going to need to sign and sell, but that looks to be being a bit more active in the market and doing it that way. So, yeah, my expectations have changed. Hit to the game, says Reading 12th, halfway. White Hart Dane, since home defeat on the first day, Forest have done really well. Draws at Leeds and Charlton plus the win at Crazen Coach. Could this be the season they finish in the top 6? Yeah, it could be. It absolutely could be. And what he needs to do, Lamouchi, is, well, steer clear of the owners, because I think Karanga could probably have finished definitely in the top 8 last season if he'd been left alone. Was a bit dour, wasn't it? But if Lamouchi leaves this team still and gradually drips in these guys, uses them as and when, yeah, they could finish high up if they can be more consistent. Just remember, those parachute teams will charge as the season progresses. Their quality will tell, and you even think teams like Brentford will start to gel and be very hard to play against. Yeah, I can see a good upside for Forest if they don't do their normal change everything around and mess them up. Forest have a bogey team, and it's Preston. I thought so. I thought Preston had won there last season. Animation Station again asked, Preston's best player in my opinion. I would have said Brown was, midfielder, kind of playing as a second striker, but not quite starting behind Johnson at the moment. So let's say Pearson has a lot of influence in midfield. Probably technically it's Paul Gallagher, the midfielder. So let me know if you have any questions in the feed. We'll do a little bit of round robin with the feed if I can keep up. It flashes up on my screen. Fire your questions up and we'll discuss stuff. In the meantime, I'll start plugging stuff and say follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Subscribe, hit the bell. Best player in the Championship David. I'm always Pablo Hernandez, aren't I, so far? Gary says, thoughts on VAR in the Championship? It'll happen. It's just, no disrespect to places like Luton or whatever, where it's getting the grounds where you can actually get the cameras in and everything set up. I know Millwall struggled to get the goal line thing set up the start of the season. They did that. So, yeah, I guess it'll happen as soon as they can, kind of subsidise it. John says, do we think clubs will take a stance against the EFL after issues with Bury and Bolton? I don't know whether the clubs will, but I think some people... I saw Dara McAnthony do a YouTube thing that's worth watching, and I think they're gonna start looking at this a bit more closely now. Mr. E, early predictions for the top two. Obviously, Leeds, if they don't get any injuries, will definitely finish in the top two. And then you look at Fulham, if they click for most games, should do, shouldn't they, with that first 11. Bristol City maybe a bit too streaky. If Bilic can get West Brom moving the ball a bit faster, maybe Austin comes into the team, then they should be challenging too. Where do I buy my shirts? All over the place. Just look for the loudest one. Do I think Scott Parker will last the entire season, says Plucky Chicken? The only way he'll be fired is if they'll probably do what Norwich did with Alex Neil, where if at any point it looks like they can't reach the playoffs, which would mean, 10th place with 6 games to go or whatever, and they might get rid. Just remember, it's only 2 seasons of parachute money for Fulham. They're only up 1 season. So, yeah, maybe he is on thinner ice, but he needs to be in the top 6 all season pretty much for that to definitely not happen. But I think they're probably going to be Fulham, aren't they? Assuming they can keep everybody fit and that will work. When am I going to do another Leeds match, says Super Leeds? I might do Leeds Derby, which I think is like September 21st. Adam says, how many different grounds will we be looking at getting to this season? I'll try and get to all 24 Championship and maybe 8 to 10 League One. So probably about 35. John asked which games this weekend. I will be at Cardiff and Fulham, and I'll be at Ipswich, Shrewsbury. I'm going to watch Ipswich. Abel was asking about the government getting involved. It's very, very difficult while it's still a capitalism type thing for the government to interfere. And the government can't, you can do your fit and proper stuff, but you can still pass a fit and proper test and do really dumb stuff and mortgage stuff. So SimsQ says September is Millwall QPR2. Good weekend. Yeah. When am I going to get to see Millwall? I think the first time I'll see Millwall will be, I think they play Luton early October. And I expect Millwall to still be in the top 9 or 10 by that point. So that should be fairly good. I think Luton and Millwall's got a reputation of being quite tasty as well. So I shall be moving nice and safely around Kenilworth Road in the dark there amongst them. Although I always get on very well with Millwall fans. So I'm sure we'll have a good night. Right, any more questions come in, any more topics, we'll do them. If not, I will bid everybody farewell and say thank you for tuning in. Oh, comes another one. Who do I think will be going down? As it stands, it's going to be hard if Barnsley don't gel their players, they're going to be looking at it. Wigan, if Wigan start losing home games, then could be Wigan. I think Reading have pulled them. You had Reading and Millwall down there, and they both look a different proposition this season. I'm really enjoying Luton, but it's going to be tough given their size. So we will see. Thunderbolt says Darren Moore top 4, still got the sack. No manager is safe. Yeah, you're right, Thunderbolt. But I think everybody who watched West Brom knew that Barnes, Gallagher, and Rodriguez seemed to be getting him through, having no tactics or strategy whatsoever. And then when Barnes went, the Emperor's clothes were removed. So I think they got it right. John says Moore got sacked because he needed the top 2. And tactically, I just think he got undone several times there. Okay, let's bid everybody farewell. Thank you everyone for joining in. I love doing these live streams. I love the interaction. Fantastic way to do it. Let's keep going. Go on then. Thoughts on Bury? Yeah, very, very sad. Let's hope they reconvene at whatever level they're coming in next season in the same way that we've seen these restart clubs do. So let's hope they keep the name. Do I think Stoke will pick up? Yeah, I think they will, but whether it's under Nathan Jones or not, I don't know. I want it to be under Nathan Jones because I think he can be good, but yeah, I don't know whether it's going to be. Thoughts on Koku? Will he last until Christmas? I like the idea of what he's doing, but they look a little bit stiff a couple of times. Derby look like they're very much like a Roy Hodgson team, like they're really worried about where they should be on the pitch without necessarily playing too much freedom. Be interested to see whether Bielik ends up being in the midfield there and being a bit more stiff there. Swansea could do a Norwich. Let's see if they keep playing the way they are. Then they definitely will do a Norwich because they're on fire at the moment. So remember, Norwich just incessantly did it for the whole season. Though this creating chances, just chance after chance, game after game after game. Right, I've said bye twice now, so I will go. I'm thinking. With the review streams, I'm thinking of consistently doing them on Monday nights now. I'm just finding Sundays a bit too full. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let's assume you'll see me on Monday. Check out my review of Cardiff and Fulham. So looking forward to that one. And if you're interested in seeing what Ipswich do, I'll be at Ipswich Shrewsbury on Saturday as well. Right, over and out. If you do enjoy what I do, you can follow me on Patreon. I'll save you the plug, but this will always be free on here. But it's the equivalent of buying me a pint. I know a few of you have on here, which is fantastic. Help a brother out. Be my dream to do this for a living. Dreams may come true. You never know. So yeah, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Right, I am going to go and see if my missus is awake because she went to have a nap about an hour ago. So I'll probably find her asleep with the dogs. And go and watch something on the TV. See you later, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. Goodbye.